The Weekly, hosted by the editors of Pro Builder and Pro Remodeler, starts now.
When most people hear the term production housing, they probably think of suburban examples that look like these. But not all production housing is the same. One developer, Oaxaca Interests, is in the midst of a cutting edge development called the Haciendas, a Dallas project that focuses on design, wellness, lifestyle, and neighborhood. Today I talk with company president Brent Jackson, who will walk us through the project and give us a glimpse of what it took to pull this off.
We started the company, or I started the company in 2007. As I say, it really was sort of a two-edged sword that it taught me to be pretty frugal in a time where the market was pretty hectic, or it was about to get really hectic. And so raising capital in 2007, 2008, 2009 was pretty harrowing, but it taught us a lot about frugality. It also gave us an opportunity and some insight where and how to find opportunity. And so we found a part of town that we believed in, and has proved to be a wonderful place to do business, and that's West Dallas. Mm-hmm. Some of the fundamentals of our company, in fact, the mission of our company is three-pronged, and they're equally important. And that's financial yield, world-class design, and community impact. And they very much impact each other, so that we don't believe that we can get the financial yield we aspire to have if we don't have legitimate, genuine community impact and I should say, community or world-class design. And so consequently, we treat each one of those legs of the stool equally.
So tell us a little bit about what the Haciendas is and where you are in the process right now.
Sure. So the Haciendas are designed by an architectural firm named Lake Flato. Lake Flato is an architectural firm here based in Texas. I would wager they're the number one architecture firm in the state of Texas, and probably top 5 or 10 in the country. Their accolades speak for themselves. And the thing that I've enjoyed working with them on is they recognize my penchant for art. And in fact, my undergraduate degree was a BFA at UT for painting and sculpture. And so having that lexicon and that jargon and that appreciation for what's artistic has formulated a strong bond and strong relationship. So working with them over 10 years now really afforded me the opportunity to approach them about something they've never done before, which is essentially designing a product that is hitting a price point that is compared to their other product, which is essentially between a $3 and $5 million product. We're now building product that's a fraction of that, a $500,000 and $600,000 product, or less than $600,000 in many cases. And so that's something that we pushed them on, and I think they were clearly up to the challenge. And it really sort of stemmed out of a product that they had already been tinkering with, but it was really for more ranch locations, and those are called porch houses.
I remember that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they really, that was their basis and their ability to see what we were after, and sort of then meld our visions together. And then one other sort of piece of the puzzle, or two other pieces of the puzzle, but the next one up is the landscape architect, and that's Hawker Designs, and they go by Hawker now. Hawker's well on their way to being equal stature of Lake Flato. They have been around as long, so they haven't had a chance to get there as quickly, but they are on their way. And they're certainly an internationally recognized landscape architecture firm based here in Dallas. And David, who's my peer, essentially, we same age and both grew up here in Dallas. We really work hand in hand on starting with landscape first and appreciating the power of landscape prior to the actual structure. And so it's a little bit of a reverse order when you look at who my competitors are in building homes. Most people have the landscape as an afterthought or a mid thought. Mm-hmm. We start with landscape.
So how many units are at the Haciendas, and is the project completed?
Yeah, so we currently own 84 lots in the West Dallas area. And so the first 4 were really sort of our betas to understand not only just from a construction ability standpoint, some of the R&D that you learn when you first build a new product, especially one that's this dramatically different or departure from the standard construction type and standard design in the Dallas area. So we had a lot of learning curve elements in the first 4, but we've completed the first 4. We've got 3 of the 4 under contract, or sorry, 1 is sold, and then 2 are under contract, and then we've got our 4th one that we hope to have a contract pending here pretty quickly.
Okay.
So we've been pleased with the market's feedback. I was just at the Haciendas yesterday talking to a couple potential buyers, and almost to a T, they've all said the same thing. This is nothing like they've seen this is nothing like anything they've seen in the city of Dallas.
Okay. So why don't you go ahead and share your screen so we can take a look at this really cool project.
So this is the interior shot of one of the secondary bedrooms. The interior designer, I should also give her props. Her name is Catherine Nelson. I also worked with her at Sylvan 30. So we really kind of brought the band back together, so to speak, on this deal. And it really, really helped with the communication. So oftentimes, Nigel, in these projects, it really can be as simple as miscommunication that can sort of send a project in a tailspin. And that's been a really important component of this project. This is an exterior shot. We try to blend 3 cultures and everything that Oaxaca works on, and that marries well with the rest of the teammates. And that's the Japanese culture, the Mexican culture, and the Texan culture. And you'll see all 3 of those sort of woven throughout. If you look at the species of the planting materials, a majority of them, if not all, on these shots you'll see are native Texas species. Okay. So that's helpful in that they're drought resistant and also flood tolerant. But that also helps with sort of a lock and leave mentality. So it's relatively low maintenance, but continually beautiful property. And it's all fully irrigated, but again, it really we're wise about it. So there are only a few spots where we've strategically placed actual full sprinklers. The rest is either drip irrigation or a bubbler.
Okay. Is that regular stucco unpainted on the outside?
You got it. Most people don't realize that. And so I sort of have to walk them through that stucco and cement are actually kissing cousins. They're both essentially mud. And I really love the natural color of cement and or stucco or mud. I think it's just a beautiful color. I think it plays well with the vernacular of where we are and also the 3 cultures that we try to blend. So I did it on a previous project several years ago and really enjoyed it and how it lasted over time. And so it gives really sort of what I like to expose as the process. And so I think like sometimes when you paint stucco, you kind of lose the hand gesture, much like a painting. You can see the actual stroke, and it's pretty nice to see that patina.
Yeah. Okay.
One other thing I'll mention on this particular image is if you look at the grounds, we actually have quite a bit permeable material as our base rather than concrete, and that to me is a really important, almost often overlooked sustainability component that you can really implement into every project that you work on. And what I mean by that is that it really allows for water to shed the way it's supposed to shed, rather than sheeting off on concrete and then back onto asphalt and then into the gutter system and then into the river.
Yeah.
And instead of carrying a bunch of oils and things of that sort on the streets and straight to the river, it really causes them and forces them to go back through natural processes. So that's something we take very seriously. And then we design it and engineer it in a way that we put extensive amount of flex base and subsurface materials on the vehicular portion to hopefully prevent rutting. And then we actually have a pedestrian component that has a softer, but also still a packed element, but just a softer feel.
Okay.
So this is another interior shot looking back towards the kitchen. If you look, and you'll start to see, these are very simple structures. And we really designed just a series of modules, for lack of a better term. They're not prefabricated at this point. We are considering it a future state when we start to scale to do that. But right now we're building them ground up, and they're just very simple structures. And what that affords us the ability to do is to really focus on things that, if you look kind of over here on the windowsill, there's a little pine treatment there as the base of the sill. Just little things and touches that really sort of pop out a little bit nicer and cleaner rather than over designing.
Yeah.
Go to the next image. That's kind of a similar image as what we've already seen. One thing I will point out here is the window. What Lake Flato is really good at is on their fenestration. They're really smart about the placement from a thermal standpoint and a heating standpoint, but also, as you can see inside, there's a ton of natural light inside. So if you look at these windows, they've actually got a bit of a reflection to them. And this is a western wall here. So it's extremely efficient when you get inside the space.
Okay.
This is just a vignette. We really, this harkens back to where we pulled this out of Lake Flato, was their porch house concept. And so each one of these really has this interaction with the community. Again, part of the three-legged stool, and making sure that there's this opportunity. We're not forcing it, but we're offering it. It's an opportunity for the home buyer to really get to know their neighbors. They don't have to, every second of every day, but there's a respite for them to do so.
Okay.
One thing about this shot that I like is not only can you see the immense amount of natural light, but you can also see these are actually 9-foot ceilings that feel like 10-foot when you're inside the space. And in fact, every buyer that's been through there practically has said, these are beautiful 10-foot ceilings. Well, they're 9-foot. And what that does from a construction ability standpoint is that really helps your plates, your plating system, and your trusses, and of course, just how you put together the whole structure. If you start to pop up, sections that are 10-foot, you can really run into some pretty complicated building matters and potentially some water penetration issues. Another little shot of the kitchen.
Yeah, real nice.
Thank you. Again,
So,
go ahead.
Are these built and then prospective buyers come in, or can a buyer said, I want to change some of the materiality in the units?
We're not custom builders, but what we've done, again, with a simple design, is we've afforded ourselves the opportunity, and the buyer, therefore, the opportunity to make some decisions that are important to them, but they're really more accent decisions.
Okay.
They're not fundamental decisions. For example, we wouldn't go in there and install wood floors, for example, for two reasons. One is, again, we're not custom builders, but two, we're trying to provide a product with a concrete floor that has no glue. And when you start looking at one of the wellness elements, and therefore the community impact element, you really see, because we've installed no VOC paints, we've installed HVAC system that has ultraviolet protection that therefore kills bacteria and viruses. We've got, again, the no glue wherever we can remove any type of gas off-gassing. We've done that. So that's to answer your question. We think there are opportunities for them to make decisions, for example, on fixtures and things, but really everything else, we really are not a custom home builder.
Okay.
One thing also that I would mention that's been wonderful about working with Lake Flato in their location of their windows is it affords us the opportunity to have a ton of wall space for art. And this is a part of Dallas that really is screaming, as I mentioned earlier, about the art community. That it's really screaming for the art inhabitants and folks that love art are moving in, and that's one of the things that we've seen about our buyer pool is they really have an affinity to an attraction to art, and they really have pieces that they are already ready to hang on these walls.
Okay.
Here's just a nice shot, an evening shot that shows you sort of the lighting and again the strategic location of the fenestration.
Yeah.
You'll see also is we really try to afford the buyers the opportunity, should they want, to kind of have this interstitial spacing that can create courtyards, but also the ability to talk to their neighbors. Now that will be a green screen, that hog panel. If you look, that's crossvine and then Virginia creeper, and then these hollies will actually grow together. So we're creating private areas, but really also strategically trying to find places where it doesn't feel boxed in with just a bunch of wood, side by side planking. Another shot you've seen before. This is really the same room, but looking looking south now towards the entrance.
Mhm.
Again, you can see the art scattered throughout. Enough natural light to really allow for greenery inside. We're a big believer in biophilic design, which would allow for folks to really experience the healing benefit of greenery,
Yeah.
mentally and physically.
Now I noticed there's a sheen to some of the ceilings in the units. Is that plaster or paint?
That's actually paint. We went with a level 5.5 finish. Let's see if I can get to
Oh, I
another
love
image.
this shot too. That's really nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to go back to your interior shot question just so I can show the viewers. Yeah, so we did a level 5.5 finish. That was another one of those things where it was kind of by accident, where when you're working with the right team, the accidents are happy surprises. And
Mm,
so we actually we were going to put in a flat finish, and we accidentally called out for a glossy finish, and we kind of liked it, and the buyer pool really liked it. And so
okay.
the reason, of course, people don't do it is because it shows imperfection. But again,
Right.
when you're dealing with such a simple product from a design standpoint and such a natural tone from a color standpoint, it really affords you these opportunities to have these imperfections that really attracts the buyer rather than deters them, as long
Yeah.
as the other things that need to be in place are in place. So for example, all of our caulking is very, very important and detail oriented.
Okay.
Here again, another beautiful element where you can just see this process. I just love this sort of contrast that you have here.
Yeah.
One thing that we do is we will actually over control joint just to use control joints as a design element.
Hmm.
So you'll see in just about every product I've worked on, and of course with Lake Flato, I'll actually design the control joint locations in a very design oriented manner. So you may have a control joint that has little to no function, but it speaks to a design element.
Okay. Mm. So is this shot of 2 units or of 2 volumes of one house?
2 volumes of one house,
Okay.
and I'm hoping on here I've got an aerial so that you can see. We've got 3 plans that we've essentially accordioned into different sizes. So what I mean by that is we've got 3 plans that we've got sort of what's with an L with a plus designation, that's the larger of the two, and then the regular designation. So for example, this is the C plus plan, and if you look at an aerial, you'll see that this is a C. This is the edge of the C coming out. There's the courtyard in the middle, and this is the other part of the C. And then around
Mm,
the side, it just has a long. That's where the kitchen and the living and dining area are.
okay.
And so this is the C plus, and then we've got a nursery and study in the front, and then we remove that for the smaller, just regular C, and that's about a 15, almost not 1,550 square foot plan. This plan right here is nearly 1,900 square feet. So
Okay.
um, that's a differentiator there. And then we've got this is just another little interior shot. Again, really focused on bringing the outside inside. Another shot. You got to have your utilities and your infrastructure somewhere. So
Yeah.
we think that we think we put it in a place that still looks nice and organized, and you could screen it.
Yeah.
This is actually my son's drawing over to the left.
Mm. Are the countertops quartz or some
Yes,
other the quartz? Okay.
yes. This is one of my paintings on the right. You can't really see it.
Mm,
I think that may be it.
okay. So I really like this project because it's so different. And most of the times when you see houses in developments, it's pretty standard. There's asphalt roofing, maybe vinyl siding. In your Texas market, it might be brick. But this, and I guess it would be considered production housing, but it doesn't look like production housing.
Thank you.
So how do you balance the need to make sure that they're affordable, because the price point that you mentioned is not bad at all, while at the same time still infusing some design into the spaces.
Well, I think I mean, you hit the nail on the head as far as the pricing is concerned. It's not affordable, but it's certainly lower price point than what somebody would be buying for this design. And we did that for a couple reasons. One is we believe in this area and we don't want to simply displace the folks that are already here. And the buyer pool that we're seeing are folks at that price point that really respect and appreciate the existing neighbors. That's not to say that people that are buying, you know, $2, $3, $4 million homes would not also respect this neighborhood, but it at least gives a larger opportunity for that to occur at this
Yeah.
price point. The second thing is that by designing very simply, meaning that the structures themselves are not, like I said, not terribly complicated, it affords us the opportunity to really pop the design that in the aesthetic. And what I mean by that is that you will find, again, as you've seen through these photos, that there are moments where you can really sort of touch into an artistic element without having to overcomplicate the design. And an analogy I like to use is that in order to have a rose vine, more times than not, you need to have a trellis. And trellis usually is just a very simple structure, but the rose itself can be a beautiful, kind of crazy, funky vibe to it. And these haciendas are meant to be trellises, and they're meant to allow for little moments of pop where the roses can really sort of open your eye and say, "Wow, this is beautiful."
Yeah. So the when do you expect to be completely built out of the haciendas?
So this first four was a telling, like I said, a beta for us, and so now that we've completed those, we're already working on getting city approval for the next 7. And then the pre-sales, due to the popularity of these first 4, have caught us by surprise, quite frankly. And so what we might be able to go ahead and do is not only build these next 7, but simultaneous to those 7, build our next 20, which is just down the road.
Yeah. Okay.
All 84 are within about a mile of each other in walking distance, but certainly bicycle distance. And they're all, you know, about a mile or so from Sylvan 30, if not less than that.
Okay, great. Well, Brent, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and this is a great project. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.